Both Dominic and I have a teacher named J.S. Bark, and every time he plays an 8, 8 measures of bark, you're taken aback. Imagine this. After years, the peaceful tempest of silence gradually subsides. Sting stayed out of public disputes because he was a quiet thinker who always presented himself as the rock star of the thinking man. However, his recent disclosures on Mick Jagger are anything but complimentary. Instead of the awe that the world had anticipated for one of rock's most enduring legends, Sting's remarks expose the murky undercurrents of rivalry, jealousy, and anger. It's not merely a case of two legends meeting. It's a tale of ego conflicts, sour rivalries, and inner monsters that oozed out from the stage lights. Comparisons to the Rolling Stones were unavoidable, from the time Sting's Police gained enormous popularity in the late 1970s. However, what initially appeared to be a passing of the torch from one generation to the next swiftly devolved into a struggle for dominance. Under the surface, Jagger viewed Sting more as an outsider, intruding on a kingdom he had established decades before, than as a fellow celebrity. Sting, on the other hand, was enraged by Jagger's haughtiness and disliked his contemptuous demeanor, which included his swaggering into every room as if he were invincible, a king or queen mocking a competing prince. What may have been lighthearted competition quickly turned into poison. Rather than friendship, there was hostility and contempt. According to industry sources, there were scathing comments made backstage at award events, cold interactions at charity concerts, and the kind of clever jabs that appeared innocuous at first glance, but were actually filled with genuine disdain. Behind the curtains, their egos fought like storm clouds, despite the stage lights celebrating them both. On one side, there is a growing darkness, and on the other, bright success. However, the competition was not limited to the charts. Jagger and other celebrities frequently used women as a battlefield, and Sting was no different. Jagger's notorious appetite for extramarital affairs and short-lived romances permeated his business connections in the 1980s. Behind the glitz, there were rumors of broken sentiments, jealous altercations, and evenings when Jagger's name surfaced in Sting's orbit not due to music, but rather to convoluted romantic relationships. There was always drama surrounding Jagger's relationships with Bianca and subsequently Jerry Hall, and there were allegations that he was seeking women who were already involved with other performers. These relationships frequently produced poisonous environments at backstage events, award shows, and parties. According to some, Sting and Jagger once got into a heated argument over the same woman, transforming what ought to have been joyous occasions into cold confrontations. Others talked of how Jagger's advances hurt other musicians' feelings, destroying friendships and tarnishing their reputations. 3 is my favorite number. It's really outdated. The only thing you can do to it is waltz. It's not military, but I'm a sucker for waltz for some reason. Jagger's carelessness in matters of the heart became a symbol of everything harmful in rock culture for Sting, a guy who took pride in stability and devotion. It served as a continual reminder that Jagger gambled with people's reputations, as well as their emotions. This carelessness and incapacity to keep personal interests apart from professional networks widened the rifts between them and fueled an ongoing rivalry that never seemed to go away. Sting and Jagger's hostility is only one chapter in the longer book of Jagger's disputes. Mick's life has always been turbulent, with him and Keith Richards engaging in a power struggle that almost broke the Rolling Stones apart on numerous occasions. Their relationship was both a lifeline and a battleground, with Richards accusing Jagger of being domineering, and Jagger accusing Richards of being untrustworthy. Their love-hate relationship became one of rock's most infamous. When Richards wrote caustic statements about the dispute in the 1980s, he had acrimonious arguments about women, music, and credit with other rock musicians, like David Bowie. Ego and sexual entanglements caused their friendship to fall apart, leaving a lasting scar in the glitzy nightlife of London in the 1970s. Then came public arguments with people like Paul McCartney, who took offense at Jagger's disparaging remarks about the Beatles, and even with Elton John, whose exuberance occasionally clashed with Jagger's own desire for power. The myth of Jagger as a charmer and provocateur was fueled by each feud. Consider the glitzy London scene of the 1970s, when Jagger was king but never without rivals, constantly circling and running into each other. A trail of strained friendships, brewing grudges, and public scandals ensued, which provided the tabloids with material for decades. What so many people had suspected was only reinforced by Sting's comments. Jagger was more than just a vocalist. He fought in a never-ending struggle for supremacy. Jagger's private life was just as turbulent behind the glitz of stadium tours and celebrity. He left a painful legacy that followed him from decade to decade, as his relationships with women frequently ended in heartache, legal action, or acrimonious splits. His infidelity and public scandal caused his marriage to collapse with Bianca Jagger. These weren't merely shattered romances either, as his lengthy collaboration with Jerry Hall broke down due to extramarital affairs that made headlines. There were custody disputes, court cases, and emotional conflicts that erupted in the media. His children occasionally resented the turbulence that their father's popularity brought into their lives as they grew up under its looming shadow. Imagine the opulent homes and private planes, but with strained relationships and emotional remoteness. A few of his kids, torn between opulence and instability, confided in secret that they felt alienated amid their father's enterprise. Despite his charisma and charm, Jagger frequently appeared incapable of sustaining long-term stability, hopping from one relationship to another and leaving unhealed scars in his wake. Sting's scathing assessment went beyond ego. It revealed a man who, despite his wealth and influence, frequently battled to prevent his personal life from collapsing. The portrayal of the unending frontman collided with the reality of a partner and parent who were unable to avoid trouble, revealing a guy whose personal hardships were on par with his most egregious public problems. The scandals that plagued MC Jagger cannot be ignored in any account of him. From the decades-long whispers about backstage excesses to the notorious Redlands drug arrest in 1967, when police barged into Keith Richards' Sussex home and dragged Jagger into a court case that made headlines throughout the world. His entire existence was constantly scrutinized. Although there were very serious repercussions behind them, public scandals about his hedonistic lifestyle, which included wild parties, careless affairs, whispered orgies, and drug-fueled nights that lasted into chaos, became part of his mythology. Paternity battles, divorces, money problems, and sour headlines portrayed him as a man who was always on the verge of disintegrating. He was involved in high-profile affairs that made headlines in the 1970s and 1980s. Every affair, which was frequently documented and analyzed by the media, seemed to leave more wounds than passion. From his tumultuous romance with Bianca Jagger to his notorious entanglements with Jerry Hall and other models, these weren't just glitzy adventures. They brought with them public humiliation, violent disputes, jealousy, and betrayals. The resulting court documents detailed tales of children caught in the midst of painful separations, with some spouses accusing him of betrayal and others of mistreatment. The scandals continued to grow. He was linked to rash business endeavors, backstage altercations, and resentful betrayals by people close to him. According to rumors, even other Rolling Stones members occasionally shied away from the commotion, hesitant to join Jagger's swirl of controversy. According to Sting's assessment, these were not the illustrious exploits of a rock god, but rather rash decisions that left his reputation permanently marred and wounded those closest to him. Consider this: Jagger was dealing with litigation from former relationships, whispered betrayals among his confidants, and the incalculable expenses of leading an extravagant lifestyle, while fans yelled in the front rows. Sting now decided to reveal the profound holes in the mystique caused by the scandals that never went away, but the image of the strutting singer on stage remained impenetrable. Therefore, when Sting did speak, it was about more than simply his personal feud with MC Jagger. It has to do with all that Jagger stood for. Friends, lovers, and family were all scarred by the ego conflicts, the strained relationships, the scandals that would not go away, and the incessant need for attention. Although Jagger is still revered and his songs are immortalized, Sting's disclosures make us face the more sinister reality. Shadows are often a part of greatness. Imagine a man who is loved by millions of people and is continuously targeted by his own decisions, while performing on the largest platforms in the world. The strife behind the scenes cannot be erased by Jagger's victories, stadium tours, timeless hits, or iconic stature. His fame came at a cost: broken trust, agitated rivalries, and an incessantly turbulent personal life. A scandal was ready to break out, or a conflict was simmering in the background, for every song that shot to the top of the charts. The legacy that has been left behind is complex. Despite being remembered, he is hailed as the best frontman. Additionally, A is a character whose desire for excess, power, and control frequently overshadows the guy. Sting's accomplishments are not lessened by his disclosures. They shed light on their human cost. One question hangs in the air with even greater weight: as fans process these admissions. Was the Mayhem MC Jagger left behind worth his victory? Or will the shadows be just as much a part of his legacy as the spotlight?